Let's work on painting clothing today in acrylic portraits. This is mattphilleo here in the studio, and before you can see a portrait I'm working on, a close-up of this vignette oval portrait. And I have several hours and layers of work into this girl's swimsuit here. And today I'm going to be adding some more glazed layers using the glazing technique. Clear acrylic medium mixed with some paint that adds a special luminosity and depth that's really hard to achieve using just flat acrylic paint. So what I'm doing then is mixing a few different layers here. I want to have you watch behind the scenes and see how this works out. I'm going to start with some raw umber dark, and I think you can see it now, and the goal today then is to show you the process of darkening a midtone and then adding some highlights to that. So that's what I'm going to do. Take just a little bit of alizarin crimson as well to warm that up. And then let's paint on top of this midtone, darkening it in just a few spots. A little bit more blue. We have to kind of test out the color and see how it looks, see how we like it. I tell you what, it can get even a little more opaque. Start getting a little bolder with your glazed layers at this point as we get to the later stages in the painting. And that's what we're going to do here. Now here we have an area it's a little bit cooler. I noticed that there's a warmer tone up here and a cooler tone down here, and I'm trying to get that differentiation between the two, and that can give it a little bit of visual interest by doing that. And we're just going to darken this, and we'll add some highlights in the next layer. Darken this whole area just a bit. And then we can also darken up the shadowed area because there's a few little spots, some that are darker than others. So if I add alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue, primarily just a little bit of raw umber dark, to make this almost opaque, and I can go ahead and add some really dark spots just to a few select areas within the shadows. And we'll just imagine that some of these wrinkles here kind of extend beyond the areas that we can see. Just give it a little bit of depth that way. Then let's blend it out into a lighter glaze. Get a bit of gradation through that. There's some of these little ribbed areas here. They're going out in the other direction. Just getting really dark color saturated here. That's kind of the goal. A little bit of depth. You can also deepen the shadows using the round brush, which allow me to get a little more precision. So I'm deepening in these shadowed areas with the glaze and building up a lot of depth this way. It's just really neat how this technique works. We have not just black here, but we have brown and blue and red. Many different layers of it, all creating what appears to be black, but it has a lot more depth and visual interest than straight flat black. Try to cut up along the edge to that container that she's holding. Alright. See if we can extend these particular wrinkles out a bit, make them just a little higher in contrast, just darken them a bit in a few key areas. These contrasted areas are really what can make a painting look amazing. And I want this to look nice as possible for the client. A little bit of shading going into this area right here. We can use many different glazes to build up a gradation and shading. And that's how we do that. Alright. Now I'll have to go back in with a few highlights and just pick out a few spots where I really want some of the wrinkles to stand out. Just slightly warmer color right here. Pull down some of this color from this top band of the swimsuit. We have a couple different opposing wrinkles. Just blend that out really nice. And then this wrinkle over here, we want to extend that down. Extend that down all the way to the edge of the swimsuit. We're going to darken these wrinkles on the right hand side and kind of give them a little more definite shape, have them taper off to a point as they get towards the extreme edge of the fabric. A few more defined wrinkles here and here, all along the surface. Then we thin it out in a few areas, thin out this paint with the matte medium, add some little dark values across the top, and this would be, suggesting that we're having some reflected light hitting in a few different areas. And we just graze the surface of this primary wrinkle right there. So some areas are a little lighter than others. So we have these areas catching a little more light, that not quite as much. That adds a little bit of variety and visual interest. There we go. Now we want to darken this strap just a little bit. Very carefully go over the surface of it. There we go. Add a darker shadow to this area under the strap. Give it a little dimension, and then it can get a little bit lighter as it gets to this side. thin it out with a little bit of medium and just bring that color across the top of the strap. I want to smooth out this gradation here just by touching up a few select spots, and by using the small brush I can actually get in and kind of fill in some gaps in the shading that are missing. See how that gets a smoother transition there? This spot too can get a little darker right on the corner. And I'll go back in with opaque paint and hit a few spots and bring this little wrinkle out further like it should be. Alright. And now let's go in with a little bit of a lighter color and take some titanium white and raw umber dark. Take a little bit of alizarin crimson and mix it into some of the glazes that we have, and then let's go over and see if we can extend this wrinkle out with that. We want it to be so that it doesn't stand out too much. It's a little too light, so we'll see if we can get a little darker of a mix here, a little more translucent. And that angle has to be just right. I think I had it a little too steep. Let's try this again. I think that angle might be a little bit better. Alright, we can bring this little wrinkle out a little as well. Then let's see if we can define some of these vertical wrinkles going down from the waistband area. I'm not sure what they're called technically. Maybe pleats is what you'd call them, I don't know. Somebody that knows clothing better could tell me. But just add a couple wrinkles here. And let's see, there's a couple little wrinkles here that I want to suggest in as well. This wrinkle actually should go more like that. And then there's one that comes down like this just a little bit. We'll want to blend that out. There's a few little highlights this way that come at a little different angle. Of course, that little waistband area itself. Let's see if I can establish that a little more clearly. I've not used any black in this painting yet. It just makes it kind of interesting to not use black at all. Although you can use black, it's just the color is a little more dead. It's not as interesting.